today on an all-new Dr. Phil.
They say their mother has lost everything.
A gambling addiction.
It started as a hobby,
and now it's a full-blown sickness.
She works for a casino. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely not.
No.
Is she ready to fold?
She did Gamblers Anonymous. You told Grandma that you don't belong there.
Those are not my words.
Or is she all in?
At the casino, I am a VIP. They gave me 5-tier box of Godiva chocolates.
You gave them $132,000 and you got a box of chocolates. Are you kidding me? Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. Well, welcome. Now, I have a question for my virtual audience, okay? I got a question for you guys. By a show of hands, how many of you have ever bought a lottery ticket? Show me your hands. All right. That's a fair amount. How many of you won? Where are all the hands? I got like 3 hands. That is gambling. And as we all know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. So what lures people into laying down their hard-earned money for a chance to win big? Well, it kind of answers itself, right? It's a chance to win big. Why are people compelled to risk losing it all? Is it really for the money, or is it the thrill? Did you know that gambling meccas like casinos are actually built to lure you in and keep you there, spending your hard-earned dollars whether you can afford it or not?
Casinos are deliberately designed like a maze to trap and confuse you.
There's no clocks on the wall. You cannot help but be overwhelmed by the bombardment of sounds and light.
You are getting a little dose of gambling in your brain every 3 seconds. It's a gambling IV.
So you try to crowd objects, bring the ceiling height down, and create a sense of sort of clutter, coziness, confusion. You're going to hear ding, 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 ding. It's going to light up, flash.
What if those jingles and bells and whistles are actually there to encourage you to make risky decisions?
You go into that trance, that zone, that box. Nobody can touch you. You have escaped from reality. No one can ask you for anything.
In the end, the house always wins. And nobody knows that better than my guests Tiffany and Walker, who say their mother, Sherry, is addicted to gambling, has lost everything and more because she's nearly $90,000 in debt. Now, they say Sherry hits the casino 1 minute after her paycheck clears and will stay there for days on end or until her money runs out.
My mother, Sherry, is out of control with her gambling addiction.
Sherry's gambling problem is destroying her life.
My mom is the queen of making up excuses as to why she cannot quit gambling. My mom's favorite games she likes to play are the penny machines, the slots in particular.
We can always tell that she has money because she acts very happy and giddy.
It's like an immediate high, similar to a drug addict.
I need the release, so I'm going.
My mom always thinks that she's going to win big, and she walks out with nothing every time.
We sent her to Gambling Anonymous. That didn't work. We've had family interventions.
At one point, my mom did win $20,000, but I don't know what she bought with it. My mother has filed for bankruptcy multiple times. She has blown through almost $200,000. My mother recently took out a loan on her 401k, and she has completely wiped it out.
I feel like I'm the adult for my mother, Sherry. I'm always worried about if she doesn't have any money this week, how's she gonna eat?
When Sherry goes to the casino right after she gets paid, we won't see her for at least 24 hours.
I'm here and I am getting ready to go in.
She won't return our phone calls or our text messages.
It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm finally back home. Came home broke.
And when she comes back home, she'll hide in her room because she knows that we all know that she lost her money.
Oh, I never imagined that my mother Sherry would be living with us as long as she has.
Sherry has the whole living room decorated how she likes it to be. Sherry sometimes will snap at the kids.
She takes advantage of Walker and Emma 100%. I don't believe she's hit her rock bottom yet because she's too comfortable with Walker and Emma and my grandmother giving her money.
She needs to wake up and realize if she doesn't get help that she's going to be living with us forever and she's going to die and I'm going to be stuck with her debt.
Hello, guys. How you doing?
Hi, doing good.
Well, it's good to see you. I'm sorry for the circumstances. You got a problem on your hands. So what do you think about this? Is this a sickness? Is it a hobby, a habit, a way of having fun? How far has this gone?
I think now that it's a sickness. Yeah, I think it started as a hobby.
It started to get away from her toxic relationship, and then slowly it turned into a hobby, and now it's a full-blown sickness.
And you say she's possibly facing jail time because she owes money to the IRS?
I do not know. I know in June, the IRS was coming after her for back taxes, and she managed to gather up some money from Walker and Emma and my grandmother. She also pawned things to get enough money, I guess, to get her by. I really don't know the circumstance or the outcome of that yet.
Yeah. So, Walker, you say you feel like the adult in this situation, like you got a child here. Is that right?
Yes, sir, but it's difficult because she's my mother and, you know, it's pretty hard to tell her what to do, you know? And she's almost like a teenage kid.
Emma, she moved in with you guys. Were you okay with that at the time?
Yeah, I was 100% fine with it.
Well, you know moving your mother-in-law in is a gamble, right?
Yes, I do.
So you were definitely gambling when you did that. And she was going to stay a few months, and it's turned into a few years.
It started with like 6 months, maybe a year, and now it's 3 years.
Yeah, so what was your motive, guys, as a young couple to move her in with you?
To help her get back on her feet after their toxic relationship.
Has she taken advantage of you, or has she used it to get herself back on her feet?
She's taken advantage of us.
Yeah, she's not on her feet right now.
And where does your mother work?
She works for a casino.
She works for a casino?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely not.
No.
I mean, if she was an alcoholic, would you get her a job as a bartender?
No.
No, sir.
Yeah, our family is at our wits' end. I mean, just this year alone, it has gotten so bad. She took out a loan on her 401k. I don't remember how much it was. I think it was over $20,000. And she told us that she was going to buy some washer and dryers with it, and she was hoping to put down a down deposit on a home or an apartment. And she bought the washer and dryers, but she blew the rest of the money.
Sherry says she feels special when she goes to the casino because her friends are there, and she gets special VIP treatment, and she's able to escape. Tiffany says gambling is like a drug to her mother and feels her high is really intoxicating to her to the point that she's just going for the feeling. It's not about the money, it's about the emotion. But we're going to meet Sherry after the break and see what she thinks is driving her.
When I'm gambling, I don't have to worry or think about all my problems. The most I have spent at the slot machines in one session is about $6,000. If I do not win on my free play, I will hit that ATM. I have probably 6 or more loan companies I owe, 15 credit cards, pawned my jewelry and my purses. I'm currently about $90,000 in debt.
O'Connor was a beloved former mayor of San Diego, but she gambled away a fortune.
A tawdry tale of gambling and lost fortunes.
It was electronic heroin. You know, the more you did, the more you needed.
Well, the NFL has suspended an Arizona Cardinal player. They have one of its players being disciplined for gambling for the first time in the last 23 years.
I took a couple years off from gambling. The high of those 5 or 6 times I've won $1 million doesn't make up for the 25 times I've lost $1 million.
Ben Affleck has made headlines after being kicked out of another casino in the United States. This comes just months after the actor was under investigation for card counting.
A prominent South Bay politician was in court today. He is accused of gambling away public money.
Well, Sherry says she's tired of her children nagging and texting her 15 times back to back if they can't get a hold of her while she's at the casino. She says their constant judgment pushes her to gamble even more because she hates being told what to do.
I have a terrible, terrible gambling addiction. My family is getting close to being fed up with my gambling problems. They're concerned that I'm just going to completely implode. When I'm gambling, I don't have to worry or think about all my problems. I just told them that I'm going to the casino. I don't think they're happy. If I win, I'm like, oh my God, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, thank you, Jesus. I have won multiple jackpots, 2 or 3 in one night. I've won up to maybe almost $20,000, and I don't necessarily have much to show for it. I am an internal auditor, and I work for a tribal casino, so it is rather ironic that I have a gambling problem. At the casino, I am a VIP. I'm at the highest level that they offer. When I go to the casino, it's to only play my free play, which is free credits that they offer you as an enticement. If I do not win on my free play, I will hit that ATM. The most I have spent at the slot machines in one session is about $6,000. My gambling really got out of control this past year.
It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning and I'm finally back home. Came home broke. How am I feeling? Bad, like a loser.
I took about a $12,000 loan on my 401k, and I have a washer and dryer to show for it. I have probably 6 or more loan companies I owe, 15 credit cards, pawned my jewelry and my purses. I'm currently about $90,000 in debt. I've also taken about $32,000 out of my 401k. I have hid the fact that I withdrew so much out of my 401k from my family and my children out of embarrassment. If I knew how to stop it, it wouldn't be a problem.
Now, you need to educate me a little bit because I'm just a little confused about this. First off, tell me, how do I become a VIP?
You have to spend a lot of money.
Okay, so to become a VIP, I have to go spend a lot of money at the casino, and that means lose a lot of money, right?
Correct. Or win. You can win a lot, too, and become one.
And what do you get for being a VIP? What do they do for you?
I have my own parking pass to park up front. They notify me of concerts, events. They gave me the 5-tier box of Godiva chocolates.
You said that you're $90,000 in debt, taking $32,000 out of your 401k. How much do Godiva chocolates cost?
Not that much.
Are you kidding me?
It's true.
No, I'm just asking. I'm trying to verify the facts here. You gave them $132,000, and you got a box of chocolates. Correct. What's your payoff for this? Tell me about the high part of this.
Well, I think that it comes from years of some traumatic and toxic relationships I've been in, and I think that I'm trying to self-medicate. And you say you stay at the casino sometimes for like 12, 24 hours. You'll be there a long time, right? So that's your escape.
It's pretty fancy down at the casino, right?
Yes, sir.
But you're living in one room at your son and daughter-in-law's house.
Yes.
What's wrong with that picture?
Everything's wrong. That's why I'm here.
Now, Sherry says her family makes her feel like a complete loser and says even her grandchildren make fun of her gambling addiction. She says everyone just needs to be more understanding. Well, I just think I had an understanding with her about what she knows and what she doesn't know and what she's doing in spite of what she knows. We'll talk about how to unpack that run-on sentence after the break.
She did try Gamblers Anonymous, but she quit on it.
I don't understand what the point is.
You told Grandma that you don't belong there.
Those are not my words.
My mom is very manipulative. I never give her money just because I simply do not trust her.
My mother manipulates me when she tells me she's a loser. She puts the guilt trip on me.
I feel like Sherry knows that we are sympathetic to her situation, and so she will use that.
My mother desperately wants to change, and she's so sorry, and the gambling takes over.
Sherry, you said some things in the beginning about them really leaning on you too much. You know, this is a text from this year, just a few months ago. You said, I already feel like blank about myself. I made the mess, and I will deal with the consequences. I get all of it is my own fault for the choices I made. Unless you have been through what I have, you have no idea how you would react. If all of you hate me so much, then just stay away from me. I can sell everything and live in the street if that will make you all happy. Tiffany responded, you're playing the victim. Well, let's get back to all of this that you've been through. You said that you've had a lot of toxicity in your life, a lot of traumatic events in your life. Tell me about that.
There have been some traumatic events, extremely toxic.
You're talking about relationship events.
Yes.
You have psychological pain. You have psychological residue from events in your life that cause you to feel the need to escape the reality of that, thinking about that, the pain of that, correct?
Yes.
And going into the casino, you say, is a way that you can escape that pain.
Correct.
Right.
Very much so.
Yeah. Does that work for you?
At the time, yes. Later, no. I see that I have a problem.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to stop.
But what you're doing isn't working for you.
No, absolutely not.
And Emma says during the early pandemic that you seemed happier, you helped around the house, and you had a better frame of mind, but as this has drawn on and on, that you've kind of gone over to the dark side more.
That's a good way to explain it. Yes,
Yeah.
I have.
Okay.
And Dr. Phil?
Tiffany, go ahead.
And Dr. Phil, she did try Gamblers Anonymous, but she quit on it. She said that she didn't belong in there, or she wasn't as bad off as some of the other people in there. And it's just an excuse, I feel like. Yeah, I think
That
they went one time.
That isn't what I said. I said that I did not understand saying the same thing and reading the same thing that's in the pamphlet that they first give you on day one, and you do that every time, and they don't really go into anything else. I don't understand what the point is.
You got bored, right?
No, I just didn't. They said the same thing that's in the pamphlet that they give
You told Grandma that you don't belong there, and you're not as bad off as some of the other people that were in Gamblers
I didn't
Anonymous.
say
That's
that.
what you told Grandma. Well, then that's what she told me.
That she might have told you that, but those are not my words.
Sherry says her biggest fear is that she's going to self-destruct. And, you know, the question is she too far down the path to recover? I mean, is she so far into this that there's no coming back from it? Is she a degenerate gambler, someone that just simply can't shut it off? I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are after the break.
I enable her gambling. Sometimes I make a big deal about her going to the casino, and sometimes I just don't. So it's easier for me to just say, all right, see you later.
I try to hold my mom accountable, but I definitely do feel like MM Walker enabled my mom.
I enable her gambling, especially when I'm not consistent. Sometimes I make a big deal about her going to the casino, and sometimes I just don't. So it's easier for me to just say, all right, see you later.
Walker and myself would not ever be okay with just kicking her out, because how do you do that to your mom?
So are you two enabling her?
I'd say yes, we are.
How?
Yeah.
We give her just a little bit of bills to pay, or we feel sympathetic for her.
Also, we're not consistent, and you know, I can make a big deal about something, and some days I don't have that fight in me, and sometimes she can be pretty vocal too, and it's not something I want my children seeing. It's tough. It's tough to tell your mother what to do, and it puts me in an uncomfortable situation.
Right. You know, Sherry, let me explain something to you here. You know, first off, let's just use our common sense for a few minutes here, okay? Just you and I. And I just want to talk to you about this, not in some fancy way, but just commonsensically. Because, see, I have this opinion that you deal with psychological problems psychologically, you deal with medical problems medically, you deal with mechanical problems mechanically. Like if I go out and my car won't start, I'm not going to go call my therapist. That's not going to get my car running, right?
Correct.
If you've got a psychological issue, you deal with it psychologically. And what you're saying here is in your life, you have endured some things that have created you a lingering pain, that you're hurting inside psychically, that your psychic person, your psychological skin has been burned and you're hurt. And you deal with that pain, that psychological pain. And so you're going to a casino and gambling as a way to deal with the pain. You've been doing this long enough to know that does not work.
Correct.
That's why I don't call my therapist when my car won't start. And gambling's not going to fix your pain. It just doesn't work that way. You have to stay in the category and in the lane. And listen, you've gotten into a habitual pattern, and you're subject to what in psychology we call intermittent reinforcement schedule. And that means it's a conditioning schedule where the reward or punishment is not administered every time the desired response is performed. So reinforcement is typically random and it's unpredictable. And what we know scientifically is that is the most difficult behavior to extinguish. Like if you put a mouse in a cage and every time the mouse pushes a bar it gets a pellet, it'll learn it really quick. But as soon as the pellet stops coming out, the behavior will go away. Unless it comes out sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. Now that mouse will push that bar forever. And that's what gambling is like.
Tried to just stop and tried willpower, and it lasts for a little while, and then you're back in it.
Do you really want to change this? The truth is, your brain has been affected. Your brain has been affected. The pleasure centers and the pleasure pathways in your brain light up when you're gambling the same way they would if you were taking a drug. And I'll show you, and I want you to look at the dopamine pleasure versus serotonin happiness here. And this gives you an idea of how it affects the brain. When you're talking about dopamine pleasure, there are only 5 receptors. And the neurotransmitter fuels desire and motivation. It's highly addictive. It's short-term. It's visceral. And this is something that too much of it leads to addiction, whereas serotonin happiness, if you look at the graphic, it's all over the brain. It spreads across the brain, touches 3 times as many receptors. It's not addictive. It lasts. It creates contentment. And it inspires giving, like volunteering, all the kind of things that make us social beings that care about one another. Whereas dopamine pleasure is very selfish, very short term. And that's what you're into now. You're into the most difficult to eradicate reinforcement schedule, and your brain is conditioned to light up your pleasure centers when you're gambling and everything associated with it. The lights flashing, the sound, the smell in the casino gives you a feeling of well-being. So this isn't just something that willpower will take care of. You can't just say, well, I'm going to just knuckle down here, I'm going to bear down, I'm going to use my willpower, and I'm going to overcome this. You're in too far for that. It takes more than you just saying, I'm done, I'm going to gut up and overcome this. So if you really want to change it, and I'm asking you right now, do you really want to change this?
Yes, that's why I'm here. I want it to change, and I've tried to just stop and tried willpower and said, I'm not going. It lasts for a little while, and then you're back in it.
There are 2 things that are absolute must building blocks that you have to have in order to really overcome a gambling addiction. And I'm going to tell you what both of them are right after the break. Hey everyone, season 19 is underway.
If you never made it to Hollywood to be a part of the studio audience, well, now it doesn't matter. If you're in Oklahoma, Georgia, Texas, New Jersey, or anywhere else in the world, now you can be a part of our virtual audience.
All you need is a computer and an internet connection. Go to drphil.com and click on Be Part of the Audience for more information.
That's right. Hope to see you soon.
I'm here with Sherry, her children Tiffany and Walker, and her daughter-in-law Emma. They've all said they are at their breaking point and say enough is enough with Sherry's gambling addiction. And Sherry, I said there are 2 things you have to do, and I'm going to tell you what they are. Number 1, you have to deal with your psychological pain. But I'm going to tell you, if we took that away right now, your gambling addiction would not be resolved. It may have started as an escape, but things often begin for one reason and then continue for a whole different set of reasons. You've got to stop, turn around, and deal with the pain. And that's going to take professional help, very specialized help in your case, that deals with the kind of trauma that you've been through. And I am prepared to arrange help for you through Doctor On Demand, which is a telemedicine company that I'm actually involved in. And this is a company that deals with medical as well as psychological. And I will set you up with 10 sessions with somebody beginning right now, today, so you can dive into that and give you a good kickstart on what you need to do. And Doctor On Demand is, let me tell you, it is the most convenient way to access a board-certified doctor, medicine-wise or psychologically. And by the way, let me do a shameless plug while I'm talking about this, because this affects so many people. That Doctor On Demand now accepts Medicare Part B, which means you can see a board-certified physician from anywhere over video chat on your smartphone. And Doctor On Demand is waiving copay during this pandemic, which means if you're on Medicare Part B, you can see a physician completely free. So I'm going to set you up in that way, starting immediately. But then here's the second thing. You can't just white knuckle your way through this. This is not about willpower. You have to program yourself, program your environment to keep you from giving in to this gambling addiction. You need to be willing to go over there, hand them your VIP cards, and say, do not let me gamble in this casino. Take a doctor's note if you need to. I'll write them a letter if need to. Give them your name, give them your picture, give them whatever. And if you need for your check to be auto-deposited where you don't get your check, program it where it is difficult, if not impossible, for you to have money to get in that casino. If you'll set your world up where it's not easy to do, you'll find it a whole lot more manageable to stop this gambling addiction and then replace it with other activities that give you a feeling of well-being and self-worth. And all of this can be choreographed with the professionals I'm going to set you up with. Are you willing to do that?
100%.
And are you guys willing to support her in doing that?
Absolutely.
All three of you. Does it make sense what I'm telling you?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right.
Things that we've told her.
We will get started on this right away, but it's about programming and accountability. All right. Fair enough, guys. And Sherry, we'll get this started right away, okay?
Yes, thank you so much.
Next, she's moved 3 times and is homeschooling 3 children. Find out what she says is the hardest part. Like millions of parents, my next guest, Tammy, is struggling with her 3 children's virtual schooling during the pandemic. Keeping 13-year-old twins and a 10-year-old housebound is no easy task under normal circumstances. And Tammy says her husband's job has moved the family to 3 different states over the past 5 years, adding to her stress. Tammy says it's taken a toll on her.
I have a full house. I have twin 13-year-olds, a 10-year-old, and 2 dogs. As a family, we have moved around a lot. We first lived in Nebraska, then Utah, Tennessee, and now we live in Georgia. The constant moving was very hard on the children.
So what is this?
I'm a former teacher of 15 years. Since the pandemic, my kids are now doing virtual school, and I feel like I'm getting pulled right back into teaching again. It can be very stressful because I'm maintaining the house, I'm helping kids with homework. I just wonder, when's their time for mom? Living in Atlanta, it is hard dealing with the ever-changing weather here. It just wreaks havoc on my face. The thing that bothers me most about my skin, it's always dry, and I hate the fine lines and wrinkles around my mouth. I'm just over it. At this stage in my life, I want to feel youthful. I need to do something with my skin now because I am too young to be looking like a prune. Yes! Woo-hoo!
Well, Tammy is joining me virtually now, so welcome.
Hi, Dr. Phil.
Well, Tammy, it's good to see you. Now, you've talked about how tough the moves and quarantine have been on the family. What's been the most difficult part?
You know, Dr. Phil, moving away from my friends was hard enough, but it has been especially difficult on my kids. And, you know, with this pandemic, it's just made it even worse.
Well, you know, it really is tough, and there's no question about it that you've got to keep your children involved in their activities and sports. We got to do it safely. There's no doubt about that. And we know everybody's going through the same thing, but there's no doubt that we want to get these children back in school just as fast as we can safely do so. Thank God you're a teacher and you're able to really get them through that progression. Now, that's for the kids, but for you personally, what's been the most difficult part of this new normal?
Boy, I tell you, Dr. Phil, I feel like I'm going crazy sometimes between homeschooling, cooking several meals a day because, you know, the kids are always hungry, keeping up with the household chores, taking my 3 kids to soccer every day. It's definitely, I've neglected myself in this process. And with this ever-changing weather here in Atlanta, it's really starting to show on my skin. It just seems like no matter what I do, my skin always feels so tight and dry, and I just can't seem to get a handle on it.
Well, it's very easy to do, to neglect yourself and get pushed off when you have so many different things to do. I'd like for you to meet someone, and it is Millie Almodovar, and she is joining us virtually. So Millie is a beauty expert and spokesperson for Olay. And Millie, I assume you can't help Tammy with her 3 children, but my guess is you have an answer for her skin concerns.
I sure do, Dr. Phil. In fact, I have 2. Tammy, since living in changing climates is so new to you, it's important to remember to transition your skincare routine as the seasons change. Now, do you use a good moisturizer?
Hi, Millie. I do. I feel like I've always used a good moisturizer, but the minute the weather changes here in Atlanta, I just feel like I'm back to square one again.
Well, that's totally understandable. But with the weather getting cooler and drier, the key to finding a successful product is to really think about what ingredients you're applying to your skin. Now, I recommend for dry skin, especially heading into the winter, the Olay Ultra Rich. This affordable face cream is formulated with shea butter to provide instant hydration without a greasy feel.
Now, Millie, you said you had 2 suggestions for Tammy.
Yes, a great option to address your fine lines is the night moisturizer, their Olay Retinol 24 Max. This moisturizer is packed with vitamin B3 and retinoid complex to visibly smooth lines. Now, both of these products will give your skin what it needs when it's feeling extra dry.
So, Tammy, what do you think?
You know, both of these products sound great, especially as we head into these winter months. I cannot wait to try something new. Maybe it'll finally fix this dry skin of mine once and for all.
Now, Tammy, even if you move again, you'll be able to find both products at retailers nationwide and online at Olay.com. But Olay wants to get you started right away. So they're giving you a year's supply of both.
Oh, my gosh. Thank you. I need it.
Yeah, it gives you a great jump start. So thank you both, Tammy, Millie. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank all of my guests today, and a special thanks to Millie for really giving some great information. And how would you like to be part of my studio audience? Even though we can't have you in the studio with me right now, you can be part of our virtual audience. Just go to drphil.com and click on Be Part of the Audience. Then scroll down to Reservations and fill out the form. It's that easy. And I really enjoy reading your comments on social media, so be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok, because you guys have comments and questions after the shows, and I like to get in there and respond to some of those. We have some great back and forth. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to Robin's podcast, I've Got a Secret with Robin McGraw, then you don't know what you're missing. She chats with some of the most talented and powerful people in the world, and all kinds of secrets are revealed, secrets that you can use in your own life. You don't want to miss a single episode. So do that. Be safe. We'll see you next time.
Hi, Dr. Phil. I did go to the casinos and I self-banned. I'm approaching soon to be 60 days gamble-free. I'm getting things paid off, moving out, hopefully soon. I appreciate everything you did for me. Thank you. Bye.
If you would like to be a part of our virtual audience and you have a computer with a camera, log on to drphil.com and click Be Part of the Audience.